Hi there, I'm Jason Medlock, and I'm the host of the Expansion of Consciousness. I started this podcast maybe 3 years ago. We're on season 3. And the podcast is really designed to help people expand their consciousness. And that may be in your everyday life, that may be in business, that may be moving away from a situation that could have been life-threatening, expanding your thought process, using spiritual modalities, using these modalities to help enhance your mindset. I moved into the coaching arena because I learned how to change my everyday life. And I started showing other people how they can do the same thing. Log on to Expansion of Consciousness on YouTube at Expansion of Consciousness. And if you want to know more information about this wonderful event where I'll be honored, log on to pwetv.com. pwetv.com. We'll see you there. Hello, and welcome back to the Expansion of Consciousness. I'm your host, Jason Medlock. Another great episode. We will be talking about managing your stress. And we all know that whether it's depression, whether it's anxiety, whether it's stress, there's always that top lining issue that I just mentioned. But then there are oil spill of things that are going on in your life. The chances are, if you're just stressed out, maybe there's low performance on the job, maybe there's a bad relationship, maybe there's money issues. Stress may be the top lining issue, but there's typically a number of things that are the side effect of that. And when we expand our consciousness, we understand how to deal with those things, bring them to the forefront, and absolve them. And that's why we have Phil Barth joining us today. In 2015, Phil suffered a small heart attack. Well, according to his doctor, after the surgery, he was told to manage his stress or get ready for another big heart attack. Phil lowered his stress and wrote a book, a best-selling book about the journey, about his journey. Great things happen every day. Finding joy with family, friends, banana milkshakes. Through the journey, Bill discovered 9 tricks to manage stress, and he calls those the 9 S's of successful stress management. Without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring on Phil Barth. How you doing, Phil?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. It is so wonderful to have you. And we talk a lot on the show about different modalities, metaphysical modalities that people use to manage stress or to manage depression. We know we use this kind of thing in hypnosis, and a lot of people seek the care of Reiki energy healers, and just different people who provide different services. But I was so excited when I was able to, just get a look at your profile and start to study your website and then the book you wrote. Great things happen every day. I was saying to myself, okay, Phil has to come on to help people understand how to manage it and how to deal with it. Would you want to start it off and just kind of share a little bit about what happened with the small heart attack back in 2015?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was 2015. I was at summer camp with my son, and we went every year to this Boy Scout camp. And there's a lot of hills, and all of a sudden, I started noticing that year that the hills had suddenly felt a lot higher, and I was running out of breath and just feeling in
Mm,
general bad. And then I
yes.
had some chest pains one night, but I ignored it. It went away. And come Thursday, I we played this game called Hungry Human Hippos. All right, you've heard of the game Hungry Hippos, where you put the hippos in, they're grabbing all the marbles, right? Well,
We all
you're
played that game.
right. Okay, well, this was a different version. So instead of a little hippo thing, it was the cafeteria, and instead of marbles, it was softballs, and instead of hippos, it was humans. So I'm down on this caster with wheels, right?
Mhm.
And somebody's swinging me around by the legs, and I'm pulling in all of the ball, and I just started feeling terrible. And so I went to the nurse, and she took my blood pressure, and she said it's 100/60.
Oh, wow.
And I thought my blood pressure is always high. What's going on here? And about that time, I called my wife and told her what was going on. About that time, I called my wife, and she said, or my wife called back, and she said, one of the symptoms of a heart attack is your blood pressure tanks to protect you. And so the nurse grabbed the phone from my wife, and she said, look, if this is my husband, I call 911. So had the heart attack, left the camp in an ambulance. A day later, they put in 2 stents. And I got to back up for just 1 second, because I kind of could see it coming a little bit, that
Right.
that something was going wrong here, because 3 months before that, I ran into a friend of mine,
And let
and I
people
had
make sure people hear you very, very closely of the signs
okay,
that you
there
have
you
to
go.
know. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Yes.
absolutely. So yeah, listen to what my friend told me. My friend was about the same age as me, about the same size. He wasn't a smoker. I'm not a smoker. I didn't the kind of person you wouldn't think would have a heart attack. I said, Tom, how you doing? He said, I just had a heart attack recently. I'm recovering. I'm like, what happened? And he told me all the things that led up to it. All right.
Yes.
I was walking and I would get out of breath. I would be sitting in front of the TV at 9 o'clock at night watching a show I loved and fall asleep, just like that. And so what happened from that time until August was I started looking at, oh, that's what Tom said. Oh, and especially at summer camp, I'm like, all of these things have been happening in my life leading up to it that were
Mm.
exactly what Tom described. And then because I'm a stubborn man, I said, well, I'll go to the doctor after my trip to Las Vegas and after the trip to South Carolina. Then I'll go to the doctor. Well,
That's what we do as men.
exactly. We're stubborn. I, the heart had a different idea. So I wind up in the hospital from a heart attack. Okay. So I meet with the surgeon the day after the heart attack, and I figure he's going to tell me, cut your carbs, watch your salt, less whatever. And instead, he hit right at stress. And he said, you need to manage your stress,
Mm.
which surprised me, right? Because you mentioned in the intro, stress could be a problem when you're having low job performance. It can also be when you're having high performance, when you think you can do it all, and so you willingly take it all on. And we'll talk about how to manage that, right? But you're going to take it all on, and I've got to catch a flight, but I can do it in 40 minutes. So I'm going to just go, and all you're doing is stressing yourself out, and you're hurting your health.
Mm.
And that's so I didn't immediately do anything other than the physical recovery from a heart attack. That takes a time, especially when they put in stents. So I went through the recovery. Oh, the doctor said, you need to promise me that 1 week out of every 3 months, you're going to take time off and you're
Yes.
going to rest. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And I said it in front of my wife, so I had to do it. Right. If you just say it one-on-one with the doctor, you don't have to follow through. Right. My wife said, it was March of the next year. She said, you're going to take that week off. You promised. So I took the week off, and I was still recovering. So all we did was we kind of stayed home and took our youngest son. First day we took him to the zoo. And that evening I put on social media, hey, here are all the great things that we did today, just on a whim. Right here, and we saw the gorilla exhibit, and we saw a baby cheetah, and we had a picnic in our car, and so on. And everybody gave it likes, and I thought, well, gosh, they like me. So, right? That's what we
Right.
do. And so the next day we went to the art museum and I did it again. And every day that week on vacation, I was looking for what was good in life. This is the key. I was looking for
Yes.
what was good in life. I wasn't doing the normal, let's see what the bad news of the day is and
Right.
what can stress us out. I was looking for the good. And at the end of the week, I said, I wonder how long I could do that on social media. And the answer is it's been about 7 years now. I don't do it every single day, but most every day. Here's the great things that happened either today or yesterday.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I don't want to
No. Ask the next question.
So,
Please.
you mentioned even if stress is the top lining issue, and I mentioned that there's typically all spill of items that follow up under that. And I mentioned, low job performance, and you're saying, hey, it could be high job performance because you're moving like a madman. So my question to you is, you identified this, you worked on trying to lower your stress. I'm just wondering, Phil, what routines do you use to start your day? Let's say in a low stress frame of mind.
That's one of the S's. I'm glad you asked that question.
Yes.
So there was a study done in Harvard about a decade ago. That's when it came out. It was done by Sean Aker and Michelle Galeen, and they did a study on the impact of how you start your day. So they divided the audience into two groups, and one group started their day with bad news. And bad, it's just they probably started their day with the news. Whether you agree with what they're saying or disagree, it's always negative. So they started their day. 3 minutes was all they got. 3 minutes of bad news. The other group started their day with 3 minutes of solution-focused news. Not all happy, just solution-focused news. So at the end of the day, they interviewed the two groups. The group that started their day with 3 minutes of bad news was 27% more likely to report having a bad day in just 3 minutes. You came up with a 27% more likely shot of having a bad day. So I always start my day off on the right foot, and this works for me. You can change the letters around because I've heard people say I exercise, I meditate, I do yoga, etc. Mine is what I call ABCD. So A is positive affirmations, some sort of affirmation. B is a book. If I don't read some sort of book that connects me to a higher power, puts positive thoughts in my head, does something positive, if I don't do that first thing, I'm never going to get around to it. You look at, the day got away. C is coffee, because after the heart attack, I only get 2 cups of coffee a day. So I have a nice, good cup of coffee. And then D is dogs. We have 2 dogs. And starting your day with the dogs, I mean, they saw me last about 8 hours before. They're like, oh, you're the most wonderful person in the world. Right? Dogs don't have bad days. And then you feed them dog food, for crying out loud. They love it. So and actually the truth is I call it ABCD. Oh, sorry, I dropped an earbud.
That's okay. And then the thing about it is, you're going through the ABCDs and you're on the dog. But in addition to that, I want to ask you again. I know that you're giving us all these, giving us some of your strategy on reducing. But what's your number one way to lower stress?
I think it's probably seeking. I call it seek the green.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is there was a study done years and years ago about it's called the brain's reticular activating system. And that's a real scientific thing. But what it says is if you close your eyes and think about the color green for 15 seconds or so, when you open your eyes, the first thing your brain's going to find for you is something that's green. And it works the same way with red. So if you say that green is what's good in life, right? You train your brain to look for what's good. And so the number one strategy is, and I fell into this. I will fully admit I fell into this, but by doing the social media post on what was good in life, the more I looked for it, the easier it became to find. And the harder it became to find what was bad, because I knew I was going to be looking for what was good to put it on social media. So I think whatever you put your mind to. Subconsciously, your mind works to find it.
Yes.
And so I retrain, and I will tell you, before the heart attack, I was really good at being sarcastic, and I still am sarcastic sometimes. Nobody's perfect, but I was really good at complaining about what was wrong and finding the negative. Yeah. And that change. You train the brain, and then the subconscious takes over, right? So now I can find what's good. And that's the number one strategy.
I know that, I know that we all, we all deal with things, and, you can recognize stress. So the way I do it is, there are a lot of things that appear to be stressful. Notice I say appear to be stressful to me, but I only recognize that, hey, I got to take care of this, or hey, I got to take care of that. I don't categorize it as stress. I guess my question to you is, and I could be having a really crappy day. So although you know how to implement techniques to elevate yourself from a stressful day, do you ever have bad days?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I am not going to sit here and say I never have a bad day.
Right.
The life happens, right? But the way I frame it is, let's just say there's 30 days in a month. And 3 of those days, no matter how hard you try, you're not going to be able to screw them up. They're going to be a great day. Something great's going to happen, right? And so 10% of them are going to be good. And on the other side, 10%, you're going to have 3 lousy days. You're going to get up on the wrong side of the bed. You're going to stub your toe, whatever. You're going to have 3 really bad days. Well, that leaves 80% of the days somewhere in the middle. And the more you train your brain to find what's positive, the more you're going to move those 24 days in a month to the positive side of the ledger. But it'll never, the late Zig Ziglar always said, all sun and no rain makes for a desert. You will have problems, bad days, and so on.
Well, let's talk about your book, and I'm going to go ahead and pull it up. Great things happen every day. Tell the audience about the book, the website, and sort of what do you have going on here, and how do you help people?
Okay, so the book was my wife said after I'd done the posts on social media for about 3 years, she said, you really ought to write a book. You need to write a book about what you've learned. And she was right. So what I did was I collected all of the things that I had posted on social media, and it was about 4 years by the time I finally got everything put together, maybe 5. And I put them into lists. So all of these things relate to holidays, and all of these things relate to our family vacation, and all of these things relate to things that just made me laugh like crazy. Wow. And so I divided them into chapters, and I put the post in the chapter or on the page, and then underneath it I put the backstory. So there was a backstory about each post and what I learned, and it's just basically sharing, here's what I found that really helped me lower my stress and really helped me feel better about life. And the title is Finding Joy with Friends, Family, and Banana Milkshakes. The whole idea of a banana milkshake is you get out the blender, you throw either regular bananas or frozen bananas. Frozen thicken up better. Some frozen yogurt, vanilla frozen yogurt, some milk, and you blend them up. And the family has banana milkshakes, and it takes all of about 5 minutes to make them. And then you just are sharing a moment. So it's something really simple. And that's part of the message to the book is, look for the small things in life. You don't have to wait until your team wins the Super Bowl. This is fortunate since I'm from Cleveland, but I saw your footballs in the back. I thought you might like that joke.
Former athlete and coach.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't have to wait for the big event, right? Every day there are little wins that you can celebrate. A banana milkshake, finding something on sale, just a hug from your wife, whatever. All of these things are little things that will make your day better, and they happen every day. Now, what I doesn't say is you're going to have a great day every day, because we're not. But if you look for the positive, and that's the message of the book. And technically, what I write in my biography is it's a best sort of selling book, because it made the bestseller list, but only when it was free, and it was the free bestseller, right? So I always tell people,
but it's a bestseller. Needless to say, it still is a bestseller.
I debate it
It
because
doesn't matter how you get there.
okay, I'll take that.
Yeah,
Amazon
exactly.
says it's a bestseller, but when I go to the bank with no money, they say it's not really a sale. I, but but it's worth. It's something to laugh about, right? And that's
Yeah.
kind of the key.
Yes.
Is let's laugh, let's enjoy
Yes.
life. And so I use that book, and then there are keynotes that I deliver. One is around the 9 S's. It depends how much time I have, but the S's of
No,
stress
yeah.
management.
Yeah.
And the other is around goal achievement. And,
Mhm.
and it's another phase of exactly what you're talking about in your podcast, right? Is training your brain to achieve the goal. So and focusing on it and the goal I hit, it was 20 years ago, but I just obsessed until I got on the TV game show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And so there was this time of probably years of picturing myself on the show, picturing myself answering the questions, just mentally going through that and rehearsing. So when I got in the chair, I was nervous, but it was like, mentally, I've been here before, right? And so I also talk about goal achievement, and the two are pretty related, right? If you are focused on a goal and not letting stress distract you and stressful situations distract you, you're going to achieve more. And that's the irony, right? Is I was stressed and trying to do it all, but when I stepped back, lowered my stress, I was able to do more of what was important.
Okay, so let's talk about the 9 S's for stress management. What are those?
Okay, so we already talked about one, seeking the green or the good.
Mhm.
The flip side of that is subtracting the red or the bad. I like the color red, but subtracting what's bad in life. And I say subtract because you cannot eliminate, but you subtract your exposure to bad news, your exposure to things that are wrong that you have no control over. So
Mhm.
subtracting the bad, kind of limiting that. The third thing is, and these are in no particular order, but one of them is share the love, right?
Mhm.
Do something kind for someone else. And there's also sharing the love with yourself, right? Don't beat yourself up, but
Right.
share the love. The one we already talked about, start the day the right way. Start it off on positive, and you're much more likely to be successful. One is step back in time. So I talked about subtract the red. You can't eliminate the red, but I say when you can subtract no more of the bad, then you need to add, which stands for acknowledge, don't dwell.
Mm.
And so the example I give was about 3 years ago. My dad passed away after a very long illness. And so I was like, the next day after the funeral, I had to fly to northern Alberta, Canada. And so not thinking about dad so much. And I got out there.
I think you may have froze up on this. But the 9 steps are absolutely awesome. The 9 successes that Phil spoke about, and you have to wonder, if you could find a person that could deliver those level of methods of techniques, because we all experience a level of stress. We all experience a place of discomfort. And we have Phil back, but see, Phil, I know how to fill in for you, buddy. I know how to get in
Jason, you
here
had my
and
back.
keep on talking.
I apologize. I don't know what happened. We had a glitch in the Wi-Fi. We just got
It happens. You know what? We're live and it happens. So
yep. There
don't
you
worry
go.
about it. You know what I was doing?
So,
I was finishing the 9 S's for you.
Perfect. And I don't know where you got, but yeah. So the end story of my dad was I wake up at 5 a.m. My dad, in Alberta, Canada, and I'm like, I don't know what to do here. And then I went to the fitness center, got on the treadmill, started running, and played Waylon Jennings, simply because Waylon was my dad's favorite artist and one that we agreed on. So when you use music, and I'm a big believer in music, subconsciously you go back to not watching your dad decline and pass away, but driving in the car with dad and he's playing and singing along. And so music is a great way to put yourself back in a happier time. And so
Waylon Smith, is that the kind of music you recommend, Waylon, like jazz or
Waylon Jennings is country. It's whatever works.
Okay,
right?
wait, give me.
I'm not a huge fan of country. There's some stuff I like. I like a wide variety of
So
of
what
different
music do
things.
you recommend, like just in general?
Okay, so if you are
Binaural beats, any Hertz driven music,
something upbeat, I have upbeat playlists. Personally, I recommend 80s music because I'm a child of the 80s.
Aren't we
So
all?
I know, right? Right.
Yeah.
So when I hear that, I'm not my current age. I'm back in college or high school or whatever, and
Right.
remembering the good times. So whatever takes you back, I am genre agnostic. Whatever is in your mind and takes you back. And it's amazing to me the songs I will hear that will take me back to a very specific memory. I
Mm-hmm.
remember that was playing when. And
Mm-hmm.
so anything, and then when you find that, I mean, we've got all this technology at our fingertips, put it on a playlist, right?
Yeah.
Save it for later.
Yes.
So any genre, and I use a bunch of them that
So,
makes you
I
happy.
know that you were using Facebook posts to generate enthusiasm and a good
Yes.
feeling, and your doctor gave you some tips, and undoubtedly you researched and you read on your own, and then you wrote your own book. But I want to know what book, other than your own, do you recommend the most?
I recommend David Allen, Getting Things Done.
Okay,
And when I first read it, I was like, oh,
David
this is a way to
Allen,
get
Getting Things Done. Got it.
yeah, this is a way to get more stuff done. But if you read the subheading of it, it says the art of stress-free productivity.
Mm.
So it's a way to organize and stay on top of everything so that you're not going 100 different directions mentally and stressing out about the things you're not getting done. It's full of practical advice, and it's not, I think he has a background in psychology, but it's not like he's a psychologist. It's just a really good book. David Allen, Getting Things Done.
Good stuff. People get a lot of good advice, and guys like you, and I interview a number of people who provide all these wonderful tools that we can use. But most of the audience out there, I'm not going to say most, some of the audience out there, it's hard to get a person to step out of their comfort zone, to try different things, to experience different levels of comfort, to rid yourself from anxiety, stress, same thing, depression. Phil, how do you step out of your own comfort zone, or how did you to spark your healing, the healing process, so to speak?
So there's two ways to get out of your comfort zone. You can step out or you can get thrown out. And I got thrown out of my comfort zone by the heart attack, I'll admit.
Yes.
But and we don't like to. I understand. People don't like to step out of their comfort zone. Nobody ever goes to a mattress store and asks for a bed of nails. It's just we like being comfortable. But there are ways to do it. You don't have to jump out of a perfectly good airplane with a parachute on your back. I would not recommend that. I've never done that. But mentally, you might be in a comfort zone that has become a routine, right? So mentally, sometimes I have to step out of my comfort zone. Yeah, I like to plan things. And there can come a time when it's just you've planned and planned and planned and planned. And sometimes I just like to, okay, you know what? I'm going to act. I know the first thing I kind of want to do in this effort, I'm just going to take action and see what happens. Am I comfortable with that? Not out the gate. Is it good for me? Absolutely.
Wow. So you participate in keynote speaking programs. You've spoken at a number of different events. Tell us how that went. How did that come about, and how did it go for you? And what was the reaction from the audience? Speaking on such a well-known topic as lowering your stress.
Yeah. So I was a member of Toastmasters, still am, and that's a public speaking and leadership group.
Yes,
and
Toastmasters.
I spoke in there, and most people have a fear of public speaking. I didn't, but I should have when I started speaking, because the feedback I got on some of my speeches, like one of the first ones I did, not in Toastmasters, before that, was just I was not getting my message across. So after a few years of Toastmasters, I started speaking first on things like goal achievement and
Mhm.
and then the stress management program. The reaction has been positive. I mix it with humor. And so you're talking about stress, and one of the things I do is mix humor throughout. Nobody wants to have 60 minutes of a non-funny speech. There's a saying in the world of professional speaking, you don't have to be humorous, but if you want to get paid, you need to have some humor, right?
Yeah,
Only if
yeah,
you
you
want to
do.
get, if you only want to be a professional speaker, right? So the reaction has been that it's been positive. It's been positive on the material. And the other reason I like humor, and this gets back to how I'm wired, is I want to know the audience is with me. And,
Yes.
and I and when I'm speaking to an audience, if they're laughing, I know they're with me. And
Yes.
so if it's all serious, I don't know. They may be with me, or they may be just counting down the minutes until they can leave the room. If they're laughing and engaged, that brings that. I know they're having positive feelings about this, which in turn makes me more positive. It's just like this wonderful cycle of positivity, and we all have fun, and I
You know,
enjoy it. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, I find this interesting. I was looking at some of the programs you have for speaking, and let's just add it on here. Friends, family, and banana milkshakes, your stress cure, a program for people who are tired of all the bad news. That is so unique.
Yeah. I, I had the program. I was like, what am I going to call it? And why am I, and who am I targeting it at?
Right.
And so I took it from the book, the Friends, Family, and Banana Milkshakes. And it's a stress cure. It leads into the who's your support group and what are the little things you're doing to lower your stress.
Hmm.
And then, and I just believe a lot of people are tired of bad news. I believe we get worn out.
Yeah. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Phil Barth, you have to go and check out his book, check out his website, www.philbarth.com. A number of beautiful things that can help you deal with stress relief. And, I got to say, Phil, this and the topic that you and I agreed to talk about in what you've experienced, in your life is needed. This conversation is much needed for all of the people who dare to listen to the program, but who can pull something from it and implement it in their life. And the fact that you have all these tools for managing stress is absolutely incredible. We're running out of time, but I would like to know if there's anything or any other tips you want to leave for the audience. Tell them what you're up to, what you have coming up, if you have any coaching programs, just anything that you'd like to say before we wrap it up.
I would say get the 9S's. There's a link to them on my website. You can put the link to the PDF.
Okay.
Practice them. Some of them will work for you. The biggest thing is focus on how you're starting your day. If you have to give it up 5 minutes early just to meditate or do yoga or take a walk, something positive, and make a difference.
And when we and
That's
when
the
we
biggest thing.
And when we talk about the link, this is it right here. The 9S's for successful stress management. It's a download that Phil has. Go to philbarth.com and download this material and look at it. And if you need help, contact Phil and he will talk to you about, and I don't want to speak for you, Phil, but you'll
No,
talk to him about working with him.
absolutely. Absolutely. There's a how to get in touch with me on the website. And I love helping people. And I love going and speaking to groups.
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
what I enjoy.
Absolutely. I'm gonna move you to the back office and I'm gonna wrap it up. But thank you for coming. The topic is much needed. I wanted to make sure this audience was able to, have the tools to navigate multiple things that are going on in their life, multiple issues, and you just filled a void for a number of folks out there. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you for having me, Jason. I really appreciate it.
So you hold on tight. I'll be back with you in a second. Absolutely incredible. Phil Barth, And what a story to have these symptoms of a heart attack, and you're just going about your day, and you're falling asleep on a movie, out of breath when you're walking, and we just try to push through things, and we have to pay attention to our bodies. We have to understand how to manage our stress, how to live healthy. I mean, real healthy living. It's just absolutely amazing. You overcoming things in your life, the adversity, the bad news. Put yourself in a place of peace, sort of like Phil did, and he found that Facebook messages, Facebook posts, people showing him gratitude really helped him throughout his day. And we're excited that he came on to share this information. You've been listening to the expansion of consciousness. I'm your host, Jason Madlock, and we're excited and we're happy. We're glad that you joined us tonight for this pertinent information, and it may help a loved one or even help you. Thank you very much, and we will see you later. Good night.